Namaste. Welcome back to Mindful Serenity Yoga, or Waking Up in a Busy World with Nancy. And we are going to continue today to answer questions from the trusty jar of spiritual questions. Let's not get too hung up on the word spiritual, thinking in terms of the woo-woo. When I use the term spiritual, I'm talking about getting to that deeper essence of who we really are. And it's much more practical than woo-woo in the long run. Anyway, so we are going to proceed with the answering of questions from this jar. We still have many questions left. I've already answered, I'm sure, close to 90 questions, but let's make it 100. I'm not even sure how many it is, so I can't say 100 either. I'm going to begin by starting my timer. I'm going to reach into the bottom of this jar, kind of move them around a little bit. I think this might be a good one. Yeah, let's see. Is life more suffering or bliss? Is life more suffering or bliss? That's a good question. And I'm going to take my deep breath so that I get centered and grounded. And again, I'm not answering these questions with any pretense of expertise. I am answering them more so that I learn, see what I've registered, and as a student more so than as a teacher. But if we're teaching, we're learning, and if we're learning, we're teaching. So that's another way of looking at it as well. So anyway, are we more suffering or bliss? They said life or we? I gotta look that again. Sorry, memory's gone. Is life more suffering or bliss? Wow. I just read something on that not too long ago about suffering or bliss. Life is neither suffering nor bliss. Life is just life, doing what life does. Life has no personal vendetta to it. Life is not out to punish us for our sins that we may have created in the past, or perceive we created in the past, nor is it going to reward us for our achievements. Life is just doing what life does. It's the most impersonal thing that there is out there. This life that we are participating in right now is something that's been going on for billions and billions of years. There is an infinite number of causes that lead to the effects we're experiencing right now. And though I'm a firm believer in karma, I don't see it in the same way maybe I used to when I saw it as woo-woo. I see the practical, scientific nature of that law, as are all laws in the universe. So is life more suffering or bliss? It is what Thich Nhat Hanh would say. It is neither, and it's both. So that way you're really not cemented to one answer or one opinion. In the non-dualistic term, there is no difference between suffering and bliss, right? And to the true self, to the self we are beneath our ego minds, our psyches, these things that we've created in order to get through this thing we call our lifetimes, beneath all the circumstances that are unfolding in front of us that we're absorbing with our five senses, beyond the relationships we're in, whether they be special or what we consider enemy-foe relationships, beneath all our ideations and our ideas and our intellectual knowledge and our conceptualization of life. Beneath all that, there is an essence, a presence, a reality, a quiet, objective observer, a witness. Some would refer to it as the soul. Some would refer to it as higher consciousness. Some would refer to it as Atman or self with a capital S. I don't care if you call it Fred. But beneath all that we've created, the mental modifications, as Pantaji would refer to them as, is this essence and this reality, this spacious you, who you truly are and were prior to this incarnation and what you will be after this incarnation. To that you are, there is no such thing as suffering or bliss. Suffering or bliss come to the mental body. It comes to the physical body. It comes to the energetic body, but it does not come to the ethereal or the bliss body. when we're talking about the bodies that yoga speaks of. So the true self, which belongs in the bliss body, in the ethereal body, there is no such thing as suffering or bliss. So the life that is being pumped through us and that we're experiencing in these incarnations, that the body is experiencing through its five senses, the perceptions that it creates through the five senses, and the mind, which interprets and analyzes and decides about all that data that the body is perceiving, and to the energy levels that we're experiencing, whether we're allowing Shakti to flow and joy and bliss to flow through us, it's naturally meant to, or whether we have a block, so we have this turbulent energy going on inside us, like the Hoover Dam would have, creating an energy that's very powerful but almost self-destructive. To that, there is such thing as suffering, and to that, there is such thing as bliss. And as long as we're identifying as that, as long as we're identifying as that little me that is experiencing this life and sees it as everything it sees itself as everything, takes life very personally, thinks it's all happening either to get back at it in the old view of karma or to, reward it. As long as we're identified with those first three bodies and fail to see the ethereal and the bliss body as who we are, when we're identified with the little self, the small s on it, and fail to see the true self with the big S that lies beneath all this mental modification and physical noise the body creates, we will suffer. Life will be suffering. Life will be suffering because we'll be constantly trying to create comfort in this pseudo-comfort zone that we created and called out our lives. And we'll be reaching out there, grabbing and clinging and pushing away non-stop. And that is so exhausting and so fruitless because we'll never be able to stop life from doing what life does, from life being what life is. It's just going to continue unfolding because of all those billions and billions of causes that led to the effects we're seeing now. We have no power over that, and there's absolutely nothing personal in it. But if we continue to see it as such, life is going to be suffering. Because no matter how much we gain from out there, how much comfort we create in our little comfort zones, it's not going to last because things of this material world do not last. And we're not going to be able to hold on to it, and we're not going to be able to push everything away because life is just going to continue doing life. The moment that we realize that, and the moment we turn to life and say, instead of, oh my, don't give me that, give me this, and say, give me what you got, I'll open to all of it, that is the moment we step beyond life is suffering and begin the process of life is bliss. Life is ultimately meant to be bliss. I truly believe that. That is the yogic teachings. That is many of the teachings that I have been studying over the years. Life is meant to be bliss. Life is not meant to be suffering. Though suffering, as the Buddha said, is definitely real and it definitely exists as a first noble truth, there is also a root to that suffering, which is the second noble truth, and that root is our preferring, our desiring, our craving, and our aversion, pushing things away or pulling things into this comfort zone. And he also taught that there is a third noble truth, which is that there is a way out of suffering. We can leave this ideation that life is suffering, for life is bliss. The Buddhist teaching, the Buddhist way out of life is suffering to life is bliss, is through the Eightfold Path, which considers all the rights, the right thinking, the right seeing, the right volition, the right effort, the right, and I'm not going to say them in order or in correct terms, the right way of living, the right, concentration, the right meditation, mindfulness, the right consciousness, all those things. And again, I'm not saying them in the way that they're meant to be said, but that way, the way, mostly the right way of seeing life, the right way of what we're willing, the volition, what we're willing to do in order to go from this idea of life is suffering to life is bliss, is the way out. It is the way out. Recognizing that what we're doing with our grasping, our clinging, our pushing away is not making us happy. It's not taking us on this path of life is bliss. It's keeping us in this conceptual mind frame of life is suffering. And we do not want to stay there, and we do not have to stay there. We can transcend that. We can transcend that ideation because it is just an ideation. We can transcend the limitations of this egoic little me that we've created with all its drama and its need for this and its wanting to push that away and its, understanding of things. We are beyond that. That is not real. Who we are is this essence beneath that, this true self, this presence, this objective observer. And once we step away from the forefront of our existence, which the little me creates, and fall back into the background of our existence, which is the space on which the foreground was created, we are going to understand that. We are going to understand that life is indeed bliss. The only problems we create in life are the ones we create in our mind. Who creates it in the mind? The little me, this idea, this entity we have of who we are, this identification with everything we're not, but that we've come to believe is who we are, is what's creating this idea of suffering. Sure, life is challenging. Sure, life as it's unfolding, some cause and effect falls in front of us, and sometimes those situations that are unfolding in front of us are very challenging. They're very unpleasant. They're very difficult to deal with as human beings. But when we shut them out and say, no, not that, I want this over here, but not that, we are closing down to the experience of life. We are living in the self-created notion that life is suffering because our resistance to what life is unfolding in front of us is what creates our suffering. When we can get beyond that to accepting life for exactly what it is, because we're back here, not up here in the drama on the stage with all the other actors playing out this awful drama we wrote. We're back here witnessing it all, and we can see that that's just a drama up in front of us. I can take my consciousness away from focusing on that, and I can focus on the space around me and the space I am, and that creates life is bliss. We eventually release the blockages of the Shakti flow, and Shakti, which is the life energy, the life force within us, will flow, and that life force is joy, is bliss, is love. It's eternal, never changing, and it is who we are. It is our direct link to the source of everything. And once we realize that, once we live like that, we can't say that life is suffering anymore. Life will be bliss. Of course, most of us are still caught up in the life is suffering drama, and some of us, like myself, are trying to work our ways around it so that we're focusing on something other than that drama, other than that life is suffering notion. And I may not be experiencing life as bliss right now, but I'm confident that I'm on the right path to doing that. And if it is meant for me to do that in this lifetime, I will reach it. If not, there's always the next lifetime, is there not? Anyway, my timer didn't go off, but I can see by my little clock that oops, excuse me. Sorry. Speaking of the devil. Anyway, life is neither suffering nor bliss. It is what you make it. So leave the path of life is suffering and start walking on that path of life is bliss. Namaste. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope to see you again next time. Bye-bye. I'm going to turn that timer off now. Very bright.